League One's match against Port Vale at the Select Carlison Stadium had to be abandoned with the score 0-0. If you missed it, here's the situation. The game had been paused because tennis balls were thrown onto the pitch to voice discontent at the owner, Dai Yongge. Players returned to the dressing room 16 minutes in when around 1,000 home supporters then decided to invade the pitch. Now, James Earnshaw from the Reading Chronicle outlined the fans' frustration with the owners here on TalkSPORT yesterday.
So he took over 7 years ago. He was actually announced at half-time of the playoff semi-final, so sort of right on the cusp of potentially going up to the Premier League and losing on penalties. We've since then had 5 years of transfer embargoes, 16 points deductions. This season we've had 3 winding up petitions for not missing HMRC. There's been 3 rounds of redundancies this season. The players no longer have hotels for away matches. We can't afford them. Microwave meals because the catering company haven't been paid in 6 months. They've left the training ground. On Friday, it was revealed that the CEO had been conducting player sales or attempting to behind the back of the manager and the director of football. And it's more just the fact that we haven't heard a single word from the owner since he took over 7 years ago. So we don't even know necessarily what his intentions are. He's had 2 other clubs abroad in the time he's owned us. They no longer exist. He just, overnight just dropped them, and they, hundreds of years of history is just gone. So it's just desperation now from supporters. I mean, Reading are not renowned for being particularly partisan. They're quite a mellow fan base in general, but they've been pushed to the edge.
Unhappy for Reading. You can feel the frustrations. Was this the right move from the fans?
Look, you'd never advocate fans going on the pitch, but I'll tell you what, it was the right thing. Was the right thing to do. Look at the coverage of their plight that those Reading fans have got. They are desperate. They want him expelled as an owner. They can see their club being liquidated, going the same way as the clubs in China and Belgium that Yongge has owned in the past. They were dissolved. They don't exist anymore. In desperation, they've gone on the pitch. They don't care about points deduction. That doesn't matter. What they care about is their club and the future of their club. And if anybody who's a Premier League supporter is thinking this doesn't matter to us because it's the EFL and they're down in League One, I tell you, Forest, Wolves, Palace fans, everybody, Reading were in the Premier League just over 10 years ago. Just over 10 years ago. And we can't afford to let Reading go the same way as teams like Bury and Macclesfield in the past. We just can't.
Scandalous, actually. I mean, I didn't realise it was quite as bad. The situation was as bad. And you've just told us those 2 other clubs now defunct. I mean, if that's not an alarm bell ringing somewhere, I agree with Jeff totally. You could never really support fans, jumping on the surface, playing surface itself. However, this is an absolutely extreme case, and as Jeff correctly says, they're not really interested in the result. They're not interested in that particular game against Port Vale. All they're interested in is their own club survival, and more power to them.
It feels like they need support now from the EFL. There's potential they could be hit with a points deduction because they've managed to get onto the pitch. I've had a look around the websites from the fans groups, and they're saying that this is just the start. But if they keep storming the pitch, there could be further points deduction. It could go wrong, but they want their voices to be heard. Is this the time now for an independent regulator to get involved and support Reading?
Well, yes is the answer to that question, because they need backing from somewhere, right? And they're doing these actions to provoke a reaction, and that's what they're going to have to get. And by the sounds of things, they're going to keep going till they get a reaction. And fair play to them, because it just looks as though it's going down that road.
Because, with the best will in the world, it's fine for the EFL to punish them. What are they going to do? Points deductions. Well, they've had 16 points taken off them over the last few seasons. Fine them? Well, they haven't got any money. What's the point of that?
You're right.
Make them play in an empty stadium? What's the point of that? Going to affect their finances? Again, the EFL have got to take a look at the fit and proper owners' decisions that they make. And how was this guy allowed to become involved in a football club in the first place? It's difficult because when a club's in financial trouble and somebody comes along seemingly bearing gifts of gold, you want to snap their hands off, but you've got to be careful what you wish for. And Reading at the moment, through no fault of the fans, through no fault of people like John Medeski, who came before, have fallen into the hands of this guy, Dai Yongge, and They can't be allowed to pay the ultimate penalty of going out of business. They just can't.
It's a real shame. Let's talk quickly about Troy Deeney. He's doing the rounds on social
Saw
media
it.
for
I
what
saw it
feels
last night.
like all the wrong reasons. In League Two, Rovers beaten 2-0 at home to Harrogate. They've picked up 5 points in 11 games. They've had 4 red cards in the last 6 games. Troy Deeney, their manager, is doing the rounds for their scathing assessment of his squad. Speaking to Forest Green Rovers YouTube channel, he said this.
Group of people doing their own thing, hiding, scared. I don't understand why they're scared, because they should be used to losing based on what I've seen over the last 18 months, 2 years. And I know people are going to go, oh, Troy's being harsh and Troy's deflecting. Not deflecting at all, take full responsibility for it. I picked the team, and I'd like to apologise to the fan base, but I'm not really into the apologising thing. I'm into the fixing and sorting the issues out at its root core, and the issue at its root core is we've got a lot of people that haven't gone through the mill of humility to understand why they are here and what they've been doing. And if this is your level at League Two, then why are you at the bottom of League Two? Because this club is not a bottom of League Two club, so we have to start addressing that. And the harsh realities of it is we can bring people in, which we will and we are. But if you come into an environment that is full of sulkers, full of people that blame other people, then it takes time. And listen, from behind the amount of things we've had to deal with on a daily basis, and fundamentally that will change, and it will be changed very quickly.
How do you really feel, Troy?
Yeah, but right, here's the first thing you got to say. He's probably right. Okay? Because look at the decline in the club, right? So he said the courage of his convictions to say it. Was it probably... I noticed he did come back. I read it last night, and he came back, and I think he's apologised to his centre back who he singled out.
Yeah.
Right. Which I get. Right. I don't really have a problem with what he's done there, because it was very much a communal scathing of everybody.
Yeah, but he named names as well, Ali, and I think that's out of line.
That's exactly what I said. He's come out and apologised to his centre back, right? And he shouldn't name names like that, right? But if it was a general scathing, which, by the way, I've just had a look at where they are and where they've been, you'd have to say he's maybe got a point, is he not?
Yeah, 7 points off safety.
But once you start doing it individually, that's when you've got a problem.
You know what you have to say is he's a rookie manager.
He's
learning his trade.
Yep.
He is allowed to make a mistake occasionally, and I think in years to come he'll probably look back and think, maybe that was
You
a
live and
mistake.
learn.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Thanks, Shaman.
Thank you.
TalkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.